My friends, are reading from the Holy Gospel according to Saint Mark.
Glory to you, O Lord.
In those days, when there again was a great crowd without anything to eat, Jesus summoned the disciples and said, "My heart is moved with compassion for the crowd, because they have been with me now for 3 days and have nothing to eat. If I send them away hungry to their homes, they will collapse on the way, and some of them have come a great distance." His disciples answered him, "Where can anyone get enough bread to satisfy them here in this deserted place?" Still he asked them, "How many loaves do you have?" They replied, 7. He ordered the crowd to sit down on the ground. Then taking the 7 loaves, he gave thanks, broke them, and gave to his disciples to distribute. And they distributed them to the crowd. They also had a few fish. He said the blessings over them and ordered them distributed also. They ate and were satisfied. They picked up the fragments left over 7 baskets. There were about 4,000 people. He dismissed the crowd and got into the boat with his disciples and came to the region of Dalmanuta. My sisters and brothers, the good news of our salvation.
Praise to you, O Lord Jesus Christ.
Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat, mga kapatid. Hindi ko po makakalimutan nung aming sinimulan ang Busog Puso program na kung saan kami ay nagpapakain po sa mga bata dito sa iba't ibang mission stations at kapilya ng San Roque. Isang tatay po ang lumapit sa akin isang araw at ang sabi niya, "Alam mo, Father, kami nagpapasalamat sa simbahan at kami nagpapasalamat sa iyo sa busog puso sa kapagkat kahit papaano naibsan ng gutom ang aming mga anak. Kapag naiibsan ng gutom ang aming mga anak, para na rin kaming naiibsan ng sakit ng aming kalooban sapagkat mahalaga sa amin na mapakain ng aming mga anak kahit na kami ay magutom sa panahon ng pandemic." I guess this is also the reason why my sisters and brothers that we decided to come up with this Busog Puso program. Upon recognizing that every time, wherever I go, during the pandemic, I realized that there are so many children who are really, really hungry physically. They need to be fed. And so we created the Busog Puso program because we realized that it is important to feed people, the hungry people, especially those little children. I guess this is also the main theme of our gospel reading for the day, when the Lord recognized also the importance of feeding the people who decided to come with Him and listen to Him. Somehow the Lord also recognized the importance of feeding the crowd physically as well as feeding the crowd spiritually. Those are two important matters to be considered when we are feeding people. Not just to feed our body, but we're supposed to feed also our spiritual. That's why we need to ask ourselves, what about you? Do you feed yourself also physically and also spiritually? What about your own family? Are you a father or mother? What do you think is your main responsibility in terms of feeding all members of your own family and also friends? We need to go beyond physical feeding. We need to go beyond the feeding of those hungry people with physical food because they need also spiritual food. Kaya nga minsan mga kapatid, ang title po ng aming program ay hindi po busog tiyan. Sapagat kung busog tiyan, ang title po ng aming feeding program, ay malinaw po na magfe-fail lang kami. Malinaw po na hindi kami magsasucceed sapagkat libo-libong mga bata ang nagugutom dito sa iba't ibang mission stations ng Diocese of Caloocan at ang kaya namin pakainin ay nasa 5,000 hanggang 6,000 lamang na aming binibigyan ng pagkain. Eh, libo-libo po, baka nga po more than 30,000 kung susuruin po natin talagang puris of the poor na kinakailangan pakainin. Kaya nga po ang title namin ay Busog-Puso. Ang binubusog po namin ay ang mismong puso ng mga bata, puso ng mga magulang, na alam nila na kahit sa aming kaunting pagpapakain ng tinapay, hindi tiyan ng aming pinapakain, kundi ang kanilang puso, na para bagang sinasabi namin, binibigay namin ang lahat, todo-todo ang aming paglilingkod, upang maramdaman ninyo ang presensya ng Diyos at ng simbahan sa gitna ng pandemya. My sisters and brothers, this is basically a challenge for each one of us. When someone have learned how to love, when someone have decided to love, this person is in a way can feel the call for him also to feed others physically and also emotionally and also spiritually. In our gospel reading for today, my sisters and brothers, when the Lord have recognized that there are so many people who are hungry, immediately the Lord went to His disciples out of His great pity to the crowd who are hungry, because He realized that they may collapse along the way. If these people will not be fed, they will definitely collapse along the way. And so He decided to call the disciples and said, "What do you have then? Anong meron kayo?" And the disciples in a way said, "We have only 7 bread." You know, my sisters and brothers, we may say, so what's the point of having 7 bread only? Like us, no? What's the point of feeding 5,000 if there are more than 30,000 children who are hungry? But 7, my sisters and brothers, is basically a symbol of perfection. A symbol of wherein the disciples have decided to give their 7, to give their everything. Somehow, for the Lord, that's enough. That's why when the Lord recognized that there are 7, which is basically a total offering, a perfect offering of the disciples, the Lord said, "Let me have all those bread, and I will make a miracle." And He did. The Lord made a miracle out of 7. Ganun po ata yung buhay natin, sisters and brothers. Marami tayong nais tulungan sa buhay na to. Marami tayong mga nais gawin sa mundong ito, lalong-lalo sa panahon ng pandemya, upang tulungan ang mga nagugutom, mga taong nangangailangan ng tulong. Pero minsan, nagdadalawang isip tayo. Iniisip natin, sapat na kaya ito? Eh wala naman akong maibibigay. Hindi naman ako mayamang tao para maging isang huge or big benefactor ng isang activity para tumulong sa mga mahirap. Pero hinihingi lang naman ni Lord, bigay mo sa akin ito. In other words, the Lord said, ibigay mo sa akin yung lahat mo. Ibigay mo sa akin yung perfect offering mo, yung galing sa loob. Yung buong-buo sa loob. Diba? Para bang, magbibigay ka nga ng 1,000, ang sakit naman sa puso mo yung pagbibigay mo, para bang hindi mo gusto ibigay. Eh, hindi po yun ang hinihingi ng Lord. Always be reminded, my sisters and brothers, that the Lord loves a generous giver. And so when the Lord loves a generous giver, He will also be generous to this person, because God cannot be outdone in His generosity. The disciples gave their 7. We are also being challenged by the Lord to give also our 7, our best, our all in everything that we do. Magandang tandaan, sisters and brothers, na ito ata ang ating hinihiling ng Panginoon. Na ibigay natin 7. Huwag nating mailiitin ang anumang meron sa atin. Huwag nating sabihin at ikumpara sa ibang tao, Hindi na lang ako tutulong, wala naman tong ano eh. Maliit lang ang aking pwedeng gawin. Hindi po eh. Hindi po ito paramihan ng maitutulong sa kapwa. Ito po'y palakihan ng puso upang nang sa ganon, makatulong tayo sa mga nahihirap. Just imagine, my sisters and brothers, I guess this world will become a very, very beautiful world and happy world to stay even in the midst of pandemic if every one of us will learn how to give their seven, their best, their everything, their total self. The seven is the total self. Then I guess this will become a perfect world to live in spite of pandemic, in spite of challenges, in spite of the many limitations that we are experiencing in this world. It will become a very, very livable and happy place to live because all of us are giving ourselves. As we continue our own celebration in the midst of this pandemic, we do not know when will it end. It will still be a long way to go. But as the Lord has said, out of great mercy and compassion, and because God does not want everyone to collapse along the way, the Lord said, what can we do to feed these people? At yun po ang hamon, sisters and brothers, sa bawat isa sa atin. Malayo-layo pa ang paglalakbay sa panahon ng pandemya nito. At ayaw ng ating Panginoon na may mga kaibigan, kapatid tayo o mahihirap na magko-collapse along the way. Tayo po'y tumulong, ibigay natin ang ating pito, ibigay natin ang ating the best, ibigay natin ang ating sarili.